Lana Jones, for those of you who don't know me, I am your child nutrition specialist. And I say I'm your child nutrition specialist because if you have a question about the child nutrition programs, whether they be CACFP, NSLP, SBP, you know, all of our wonderful acronyms, any of those programs, this is the place you want to be. This is the group you want to be a part of. And I am the person you want to talk to. Me and my team are here to support you in everything child nutrition. And that's what we're talking about today. That is what we're talking about. Because if you are a part of the child nutrition program and you're already a participant, then you know the child nutrition program is its own animal. Okay, it's its own entity. And I say we are our own people. You know, our organizations are very unique. With child nutrition programs, we are able to provide healthy food to children and adults who are in need of those services. You know, my background is I worked in daycares and I worked in schools. And one thing I know about the meals that we have provided, and I've done this for 20 years, is that the meals we provide are sometimes the only meals that some of these children in particular receive. You know, especially like Mondays in the school system. That used to be one of our highest participation days. You know, and I used to always make sure that there was an item on the menu that children really loved, because that was the day that children were coming back into the schools from the weekend. And like I said, sometimes our meals are some of the healthiest meals they receive, and sometimes the only meals they receive. So we do what we do from a place of passion, right? We are serving, in particular, we're talking about children today. Your organization might serve elderly adults as well, but we are serving populations who are in need of our services, right? And so we want to make sure that we are operating our programs at a level of excellence. And that's what this is all about. What we're going to be talking about today is how to make sure that our programs are successful, okay? How to make sure that our programs are operating at high levels. And if you're a part of this group, you are probably a person in your organization who's a leader or a decision maker. And let me kind of break that down for you. You may be a child nutrition director in a school system or a charter school. You may be the food program director in your child care. You may also be the food program director in a community organization, because these programs operate on different levels in different organizations. But at the end of the day, they are there to serve those populations that are in need, okay? So let's talk about today. Today, what I wanted to talk about are the 5 pillars of a successful child nutrition program, okay? And so what I am guessing and what I am betting on is that in your organization, you sometimes run into problems, right? You sometimes run into problems. These programs have a lot of rules, a lot of regulations. They have a lot of checks and balances. They often include different parts of our organization, like they're going to include people. They're going to include your finances. They're going to include the people that you serve, whether that be children, the families that they're linked to. And so there are lots of different types of services that happen within the child nutrition program, okay? So let's talk about the 5 different pillars and where you may be seeing some of the issues in your organization, and then we'll get to some of the solutions, okay? So pillar 1 of a successful child nutrition program are the people, okay? People are at the heart of what we do, whether it's the people who provide the services or the people that we serve, these little adults, you know, these little adults are the elderly populations. They're at the heart of what we do. And when we're talking about operating a successful child nutrition program, we have to keep the people in mind. When we're talking about the people who provide the services, what's very important is that our organizations focus on training these people and also making sure that these people feel empowered. Okay, so training the persons and helping them feel empowered. Now, if you are the main person at your organization and you are the director, then sometimes the hat falls on you, right? You wear the hat as the food program director. But one of the things as we begin to get to know each other and learn with each other over the next few weeks, over the next few years, is that I want us all to identify other people in our organization that we can empower to be a part of the child nutrition program. So what do I mean? For instance, let's take the task of menu planning. If you as a director are the menu planner, but also as you as a director are the director of the organization, you direct HR of your organization, you direct the payroll, you count the money, you are on the service line, you are doing all the paperwork. If you are wearing multiple hats in your organization, okay, then you are probably a person who's also feeling the pinch of wearing multiple hats. And so when we're talking about people, I want us over the next few weeks to begin to identify people in our organization who we could train and empower to be a part of our successful child nutrition program. There are many services that we have to do within this program. And I'm just mentioning menu planning as one of them. But start to begin to think about what are some other tasks related to the food program that you could train and empower other people to do. Because that's what's going to make your program successful, is being able to successfully delegate some of these tasks to other people in a responsible and an accountable way. Remember, responsible and accountable. You can't just, sometimes just throw a task on somebody. And sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes that's what happens. But as successful child nutrition program leaders, we want to make sure that we do it in a responsible way. Okay. So that is our first pillar of a successful program, is making sure that we've trained and empowered people. The second pillar are processes. You cannot talk about the child nutrition programs without talking about processes. And an easy way to say that are those rules and regulations, the red tape, the compliance, the audits, the actual tasks that happen on a day-to-day basis, on a monthly basis, on an annual basis. That is all called process. What are the processes that you've put in place in your organization? If you can't think of one right now, that means that is the number one thing we have to tackle here in the next few weeks. We have to make sure that your organization has some processes that work. Okay. I'm big on menu planning because that's what I've done here for the last 20 years in school systems and child cares. So I always use that as our example a lot of times. But let's just talk about it. Let's talk about menus. And menus seem like they should be simple, right? They should be something that, it's easy to plan a menu, right? Right? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Because if we as the directors and the managers of our program are super, super busy because we are managing these whole programs and we are wearing multiple hats, sometimes menus are at the bottom of the list. Okay. And so what we want to talk about is what kind of process do we have in place? Here's a simple process. Maybe by the 15th of the previous month, you have 4 weeks of menus planned for the next month for breakfast, lunch, and snack. You do that by the 15th of each month. You make sure that menu is also a cycle menu. Okay, meaning that there are some items that are going to repeat every few weeks, every few months. You also make sure that you have planned financially for that menu. And you make sure that you've taken into consideration what kind of leftovers and other resources you may have planned. That's a process, okay? And like I'm going to encourage us for the rest of our time together, make sure you delegated it. That's a process too. Have you delegated it to a responsible person in your organization who's been trained on that particular task? And a part of that process of delegation would be then checking that information, okay? Before you even go to the grocery store, check that information because that's a part of your process. And then also making sure that that person or yourself have checked it for compliance. All that makes up a process. And if you don't have a solid process in your organization for that task, and that's just one of the tasks, then you can ensure that something has fallen through the cracks. Okay, so remember, we got to have processes for menu planning. We got to have processes for meal counting and claiming. We got to have processes for training. All of these are systems that you have to install into your CMP program to make sure that it's successful. So again, that's our second pillar, and it's process. Third pillar is participation. Now, participation may look a little bit different depending on what kind of organization you are, okay? Let's talk about if you are a nursing home facility. Well, participation is something that is kind of going to happen because you have people who live there, right? They live there. So participation is going to happen. And it may be a similar style for a daycare because you have the children all day and they're going to pretty much eat what you serve. However, if you are in a school system, participation, it can come and go. And what I mean about that for people who aren't in schools is that the kids do not have to participate. They could choose to bring their meals. Okay, so that's a little bit different than the other organizations. So as a successful child nutrition program leader, some things you have to be aware of no matter what organization you're in is that in order for people to participate, there has to be something that they like, right? We have to make sure that we're serving great food, okay? You know, if we're just talking about a school system, school systems and lunch ladies, they get a bad rap, and food dudes, let me not forget the guys out there. They get a bad rap, right? Over the years, people have said that our food is terrible. They have said that our food looks like dog food. They say we use lower quality items, and that is not the reputation that we want to continue. And you, as a leader of a child nutrition program, that's not the program you want to run. Okay, even if you're one of these organizations where you are the principal, you are the cook, you are the person who does enrollment, you're everybody. At the end of the day, you are still a child nutrition professional. When your organization put you in charge of the child nutrition program, you had to come up to a new level of professionalism in food. Okay, we are child nutrition professionals. And a part of being a professional in child nutrition is making sure that we have great quality food and that our constituents, our customers, our students, our elderly, that they want to participate with us. They want to eat our food. They look forward to eating our food. And that's a part of a successful program. The child nutrition programs were established to provide nutritious and healthy food. Okay? And as I'm a registered dietitian, y'all. And one thing from the nutrition side of what I do, so I do nutrition, but I also do this business leadership side. But one thing I understand about nutrition is it's not nutrition if nobody eats it. Okay? So you can offer all this healthy stuff if you want to, but if it's poorly made, or it starts with a poor quality foundation, or it's not seasoned correctly, or there ain't no love put into it, then it's just food, okay? We want our users, our children, and our elderly adults who participate in these programs to eat our food. We want them to participate. And that is a hallmark of a successful child nutrition program. Are people eating the food? Okay? So let's move on to number 4, procurement. Procurement. That word may or may not be familiar to you, but I'll break it down real easy for you. One of the aspects of procurement is the cost of food. Now, we had a scare just a couple of days ago with our programs, right? With our child nutrition programs, we were kind of worried about where was the funding going to come from, or would the funding even be there? And that's something we may have to look at here over the next few years. You know, things may change. But in the meantime, we as professionals, as child nutrition professionals, as leaders of our organization, we have to be mindful of our budgets, okay? We have to be mindful when planning our menus, when staffing our organizations, when purchasing our products. What is the best bang for our buck? Okay, so how do we get quality food, but also stay within budget? Child nutrition programs are businesses, okay? And you're going to hear me say that all that time because I know we are CEOs and business leaders in our organizations, okay? We are businesses. We are what are considered nonprofit businesses. And don't let that word fool you, okay? Some people get fooled by it and they're like, okay, we're a nonprofit organization, so there's, we don't have to manage the money. Oh, yes, you do. We're a nonprofit. We're not no profit. Okay. And what that means is we're not in the business of operating these organizations to make tons and tons of money like a regular for-profit business is. When you're in a for-profit business, your goal is to provide a service to make money. When you're in a nonprofit business, your goal is to provide a service that serves a greater good. And our greater good is to make sure that our programs serve healthy food to children and the elderly who qualify for this program. But in order to do that, we have to have the reimbursement come in. Okay. So that means we have to have compliant foods that meet the requirements so that we can get those reimbursement. We have to pass our audits. We have to plan efficiently, and we have to pay staff in many cases. Okay. So when we are talking about procurement and an excellent child nutrition program, we have to keep the money on our mind. It has to be a part of what we do. I'll tell you, as a early in my career as a child nutrition director, I was leaning way hard on the nutrition and way hard on the participation. Okay. And I had this big idea. I wanted to provide an authentic, Asian meal. And I went all out. I got egg rolls. I got rice, all kinds of rice. I got steak. Yeah, I did this for kids, y'all. I was crazy. Okay. And I got expensive vegetables like bok choy. I mean, we were doing it up. And y'all, we bought woks so that we could cook it up in the middle of a cafeteria. Y'all, that meal cost about a week's worth of meals. Now the kids loved it and the participation was out the roof. But I wasn't fully thinking about the whole plan for procurement. Okay. So as a child nutrition program leader, as a business leader, as a CEO of a successful program, we want to keep procurement on our mind. Okay. And finally, the fifth pillar of a successful child nutrition program is the product. Okay. So we kind of talk about product when we talk about participation and procurement. But when we're talking about child nutrition programs, we're talking about providing excellent experiences, okay? Especially when we're talking about children. The foods that we provide for children at early ages can set them up for the choices that they make about food as adults, okay? As a nation, we are suffering from poor food choices, right? Some of us are suffering with disease. Some of us are suffering with just not knowing enough about nutrition and physical activity. And we are on the preventative side of that when we're participating in these child nutrition programs, when we're leading these organizations. And so we want to have product that's nutritious, a product that, again, meets our budget goals, products that the children and the elderly adults love, okay? That's a part of the product. Another part of product is the actual production. Okay. So how are we preparing these meals? All right. So if we prepare a broccoli and we just boil it, right? Until it turns out a nice little yellow mucky green. Is that a good product? Is it still a nutritious product at that point? The answer is going to be no. It's going to look mushy. It's not going to taste great. And actually, when you just boil the broccoli, you actually boil all of the nutrients into the water. Okay. And some of us don't even eat that part of it. So we got to think about the products that we're serving. Okay. Making sure they're good quality, making sure that we are going through proper ways of producing that food. And also there are things called production records. This goes back into the process again, making sure that we're staying compliant, making sure that we are completing all the records that the State Department and the USDA have required that we complete. And one of those is called the production record. So for some of us, a production record just might be a simple piece of paper. But for these federally funded programs, they are tracking tools. Okay. A production record should be used to track the food that is planned and served. Okay. You should be able to follow that food from order all the way to delivery, to production, to how it's disposed of or served. Okay. And a production record helps you do that. If you're not keeping production records in your organization, number one, you're out of compliance. And number two, you're not using one of the tools that could help your program be successful, because it could tell you a lot of information about the food that you're serving and producing. Okay. So for many of us, we are familiar with many of the aspects that I've covered today. So we said that our 5 pillars are the people, the process, the participation, the procurement, and the product. When we align our programs with those 5 pillars, we're going to have more successful programs. And for some of you, it's important that you know what that level of success means to you. Okay. What does success look like for you in your program? If you are a person right now who's struggling, where you're going home at night and you're worried about your program, and your number one worry is, are we compliant? I don't know what's going to happen when the auditors show up. The auditors have already showed up and I don't know how to fix it. If those are the worries that you're having, then that means that one of these pillars, one or more of these pillars, is off. Okay. If you are a person who's struggling doing it on your own, I hate to be the one to tell you, but you can't do these programs on your own. It's actually a part of the structure of the program. One of the questions that they ask you when you apply for this program, and you may have walked into this program just as a person who was hired, so you might not know the actual application process. But one of the questions is the organizational chart. They want to know who on your team is going to help you with this program. Okay. The reason being is because the program is big. And some people use the word cumbersome. There's lots of rules. There's lots of checks. There's lots of balances that have to be done. And so if you're doing this whole program on your own, then you're already setting yourself up for failure, and you got to get some help. Okay. And there's a number of ways to do that. You could delegate to someone in your staff. You can bring in a consultant, like our organization. That's what we do. We're off my plate food program consultants. And you can just book a call with me and I can help you kind of structure some of this for your organization, so we can identify some people to help you. Okay. Because you can't be doing all this on your own. There has to be some other key players who are helping you make decisions, help you complete tasks, helping you do the monitoring. Okay. All of that takes more than one person. And while you are a person of excellence yourself, and I know that you are, I want you to begin to think about how others can come up to that same level of excellence. Okay. And they can do that by you getting involved with training them and setting some expectations and having some new levels of accountability in your organization. Okay. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today as far as the 5 pillars go. But I also want to share with you some big news. Okay. And so this is what I've been excited about. It's been in the works for several weeks now. And it's actually called the Child Nutrition Program CEO Leadership Academy. Yay! If I had some clapping hands, I would do the clapping hands here. So yay. But I wanted to tell you about this opportunity that's coming up here in March. Our doors officially open in March. And what this is 12 weeks, y'all. It will be a 12-week program of us training together, learning together, troubleshooting the programs in your organization together. We're going to do that by having online classroom set up, trainings. You'll have templates. You'll have different assignments that I'm going to have you do. You'll get to talk with me by Zoom on a weekly basis, and we'll get to troubleshoot some of the areas in your organization where you may be struggling. Okay. Or your team may be struggling. And we'll talk about that too. So during this program, you're going to feel more empowered because we are going to base this program off business strategies. The business strategies that are working in business organization, Fortune 500 companies, okay? Because I don't care what anybody tells y'all. Y'all are operating businesses. Whether it be a school cafeteria or a daycare food program or a daycare on its own is a business, y'all. And we know schools that they're businesses, right? You're operating businesses, right? You're managing people. You're managing places. You're managing money. If you're managing money, you're operating a business. Now, you may or may not be the person responsible for that, but if you are in authority, you are operating a business. You are a CEO. You a boss. Okay? And I want us to begin operating our programs like that. Sometimes all we're doing is putting out fires. We come to work and we put out a fire and we survive to the next day. And some of that is happening because we don't have all of those strategies in place. Okay? Y'all, a business degree is not required to operate a business, but strategies are. Okay? So there are certain strategies that I want to talk to you about when it comes to operating your teams. So dealing with your people, making sure that they're trained, making sure that they have the tools that they need. There are strategies I want to talk to you about as far as the processes, those rules and regulations. Yeah, they don't have to be so complicated if we really sit down and think them through and do what works for our organization to stay in compliance. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about tools for participation. We want to talk about procurement. We got to talk about the money. We have to talk about the money. Our programs cost a lot of money. And again, I'll bring it up. A couple of days ago, we got really scared. Okay. We didn't know where the money was going to come from. And for instance, if our programs were frozen, by law, your organization should have 3 months of operating funds on hand. Do you have 3 months of operating funds on hand? If the answer is no, then we need to talk about it. And we need to develop some business strategies to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Okay. So that if our programs were paused, and I'm saying if it ever happens again, that we be prepared and that we not have to panic about it. So we need to talk about those business strategies for procurement. And we need to talk about products. Okay. Because, sometimes menu planning is hard because we don't have the right products. Also, maybe we're not purchasing the right products from the right places. So there are certain strategies for that to make sure that we're getting good products, making sure that we're purchasing them at a good price, making sure that we're not losing product. Do we have the right procedures in place to make sure that we can watch product? So those are the things that we're going to talk about in the Child Nutrition Program, CEO Leadership Academy. And so a wait list has been released just a few minutes ago on our page, and you can join the wait list. That's also where you can ask me any questions. You can ask any questions about what we're going to learn. And again, this is for you if you are a Child Nutrition Program Director, if you are a Child Nutrition Program Cafeteria Manager, or if you are a Program Director for a daycare or nursing home. Because we have a certain community, right? We have a certain community of rules and regulations that we have to know, that we have to really be masters on. I'll tell you a story, and then we're going to jump off here. I had landed my dream job as a child nutrition director of a school system, and I was in there. I was doing all kinds of things. I was changing things. We were working on participation. It was fun. I was loving it. And then 2 months into the job, an auditor walks in. I was not prepared. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And guess what? The State Department did not care. We failed that audit. With flying colors, we failed that audit, okay? Because when you signed up to be a child nutrition program director or leader or get on the program, you agreed to follow the rules of the program, okay? And they don't care if you've been in that position for 1 month or 20 years. You better be following those rules. And so if you're going home at night and it's on your mind and you're thinking, hey, we are out of compliance somewhere, then you need to get up into this academy. Okay, we need to start having discussions on how we are going to best prepare you and your team for that next audit. And really, one of the first things we're going to talk about, and this is important, is number one, do you have a vision for your organization? Because remember, we are CEOs, we are bosses, we are leaders, and it all starts with the vision for our organization. Who do you want your organization to be? When they talk about your program in these streets, and they will, if you're a school system, you know they will, okay? When they talk about your program, who do you want to be known as? Do you have a vision? And that's where all business leaders start. That's where all CEOs start. And I know, like, right now you might be feeling one of your biggest pushbacks might be, I don't got time for that. I'm going to tell you something. You don't have time to fail an audit. You do not. You do not have the time to, because what comes with that is the cost. And I'm not just talking about the cost of time. I'm talking about money. You'll pay back money. And so if we don't start investing the time now to get our organizations in shape, to really start to look at those 5 pillars and make sure that we've come up with systems and processes to prevent failure, then it's going to cost us. So you can either take the time now to prepare your organization, or you could prepare for it on the back end and suffer consequences. Okay. And I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just telling you from experience. I've been on both sides. And it's not a good feeling when you fail an audit. Okay. So I am here to help. And if you are already in an audit and you have some challenges and you need some help with that, I'm here for that too. So join me again next week. I'll be here every Friday at 12 p.m. Learn more about the Academy. Be on the lookout for more information about that. Drop your name here. If you watched this live or you watched it a little bit later, let me know you were watching, and reach out with any questions or concerns. And again, I'm Alana Jones, your child nutrition specialist, and it's been great talking with you.